Up until 2015, not one slave ship that sank during the transatlantic slave trade had ever been identified. Then last year, researchers decided to follow a myth. That myth led them to one of the last known slave ships off the coast of Brazil. Now, what makes this slave ship different is the captain of this vessel was operating it after the slave trade had been banned. And the first time, he avoided arrest by dressing up as a woman. The second time, he became the first and only American to be convicted and executed for transporting enslaved Africans. Now in 2025, they've found that this is the oldest known slave ship ever discovered. I know we got to go back to the 1850s, several years after the slave trade had been outlawed. Now, a slave ship called the Camargo was transporting 500 enslaved Africans from Mozambique to Brazil. It landed in Rio de Janeiro in 1852, and as soon as it landed, it was deliberately sunk to destroy all evidence. So Nathaniel Gordon was the captain of this slave ship, and he got his inspiration for evil from his father, who when he was 12 years old, his own father was arrested for attempting to smuggle enslaved Africans into the United States. And his father was also convicted and sentenced to death, but records don't show whether or not he was actually executed. Now, fast forward to 1852, the Camargo Nathaniel Gordon. Now, he's taking 500 enslaved Africans from Mozambique and taking them to Brazil. And during this trip, he's actually chased by British ships trying to stop him, but he makes it to Brazil. He drops off those 500 enslaved Africans, deliberately sinks the ship, and is trying to escape, but his men get caught. He gets away by dressing up as a woman. This man was a literal menace. After the Camargo, he captained another slave ship right after called the Ottawa and took enslaved Africans to Cuba. Only 25% of the enslaved Africans on board survived, and he said that a rival trader poisoned them. In 1860, he captained what he didn't know would be his last slave ship voyage from Angola. He captured 897 people. 562 of them were children. He said he preferred children because they wouldn't rise up and try to free themselves. After he was tried, convicted, and sentenced to death, he tried to off himself by ingesting poison. 3 doctors pumped his stomach and made sure he was alive and well to experience every moment of his execution. What's even crazier is for centuries, the local people in Brazil that live in the area where the slave ship was found have been saying there's a slave ship down there and we probably should research that. And it wasn't until 2023 when researchers finally listened and decided to go down there. They made sure the research team didn't just consist of foreign scientists and archaeologists. They also included the descendants of those people that came on the slave ship because they know the land and the water. And they created an institute called Afro Origin. As of right now, the Camargo has the title of the oldest known slave ship ever discovered, but there's more. In 2015, a Portuguese ship called the São Jose was discovered off the coast of Cape Town. 3 years later came the Clotilda, which we all know, America's last known slave ship. There are 2 more recent finds, though. A recent find called the La Aurore, a French vessel that sank off of Mozambique after an attempted uprising, and in Dakar, Senegal, researchers are closing in on the Senegal, which exploded after its capture by the British Navy in 1781. And there's a reason why all of these recent discoveries of slave ships are happening in such a short period of time. Filmmaker Yuri Sanada, a co-founder of Afro Origins, who's participating in the actual field work and is working on a film about the Camargo, says, until recently, slave shipwrecks received no funding or interest and remained a taboo subject. There has been little archaeological research on slave shipwrecks. Hundreds of shipwrecks from the First World War to ancient Greece have been researched, but only 6 slave shipwrecks have been identified and studied, although more than 12,000 ships crossed the Atlantic. I hope you learned something new.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. This is another edition of Revolutionary Voodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101. Powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Vodou Day. Become a part of something extraordinary. New Orleans International Vodou Day is not just an event, it is a movement that celebrates culture, fosters education, and connects people from around the globe. By sponsoring this event, you're supporting a tax deductible cause that preserves heritage, uplifts art and education, and fosters healing within the community and beyond. Your sponsorship goes beyond promoting your business. It demonstrates your commitment to cultural preservation and education, while supporting a unique event that brings international recognition to New Orleans. Events like symposiums, Afroecology exhibits, art exhibitions, sacred processions, and global speakers offer unparalleled opportunities to honor history and inspire a brighter future. We certainly continue to invite your support, your participation, your volunteership, your donations, and certainly your sponsorship. You can always visit us at www.voodooday.org for more information. www.vodouday.org. And we're certainly grateful for your continued support and participation in our live podcast, airing at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday on a social media platform near you, certainly by way of our Facebook profiles, groups, and pages. We're certainly thankful for our international listening audience in LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, and certainly Instagram. We certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. And thank you for those who continue to show up here live in the chat. Elder Reggie Greensoul, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, co-administrator of NOIVD. We will be unmuting you momentarily. Britt Brad, greetings and salutations to you and yours out there in the live chat. We will also be unmuting Queen Mother, Sister Toni Martinez, community mother, community activist, momentarily, and our beloved Queen Mother, Sister Bianca Johnson Plessy, initiated member of La Source Ancien on 4, as well as a committed team member, co-administrator of NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day, now in our third year, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. As we open up our topic, our discussion tonight, we want to share a subject matter that Sister Bianca showed interest in, and that is around spirit possession, and particularly spirit possession in the diaspora, the origins and purposes of spirit possession in West African Vodou, Haitian Vodou, and New Orleans Voodoo, explaining protocols and unique habitations in the diaspora. When we speak of spirit possession in West African Vodou, Haitian Vodou, and New Orleans Voodoo, we are not speaking of chaos, fear, or a loss of control. We are speaking of one of the oldest diplomatic relationships between the human and the divine. We are speaking of a covenant that stretches from the red earth of Dahomey to the mountains of Haiti and from the shores of the Gulf Coast into the heart of New Orleans. Spirit possession is not an accident. It is not a spectacle. It is a sacred agreement, a technology of communion, and a living inheritance carried across oceans. In West Africa, among the Fon, Ewe, Yoruba, and many other nations, possession is understood as the descent of the divine into the community. The Voodoo, those ancient forces of nature, ancestry, and cosmic order, do not simply visit. They arrive with purpose. They arrive because the community has called them, prepared for them, and created the conditions for their presence. In the mother continent, possession is a sign of balance. The drums are correct, the songs are correct, the offerings are correct, and the people are spiritually aligned. When the Voodoo mounts a devotee, it is a confirmation that the world is in right relationship. The purpose is always functional. A spirit arrives to heal, to advise, to correct, to bless, to warn, or to restore harmony. The possessed person becomes a vessel, a mouthpiece, a bridge. And because this relationship is ancient, the protocols are precise. Before possession, there is a preparation, cleansing, grounding, and the invocation of lineage. During possession, there is order. Attendants who know how to care for the body of the one who is mounted, elders who know how to interpret the words of the spirit, and musicians who know how to maintain the rhythm that sustains the divine presence. After possession, there is reintegration, cooling the body, thanking the spirit, and restoring the person to themselves. When the Middle Passage tore millions from their homelands, it did not sever this relationship, it transformed it. In Haiti, under the brutality of enslavement, spirit possession became both a sanctuary and a weapon. The Loa did not simply descend for ceremony, they descended for survival. They came to remind the people that they were not abandoned. They came to give instruction, courage, and strategy. They came to restore dignity in a world designed to strip it away. Haitian Vodou developed its own protocols, shaped by the trauma and resilience of the island. The Loa arrived through the rhythms of the tambour, through the songs of the nations, Rada, Petro, Congo, Nago, and through the sacred languages that survived in fragments and were reforged in fire. Possession in Haiti is not only a spiritual event, it is a cultural memory. It is the living proof that the ancestors refused to die. In Vodou, the possessed person is called the shual, or the horse, and the spirit is the rider. But even in this metaphor, there is dignity. The horse is not weak, the horse is chosen, the horse is trained, the horse is honored, and the community knows how to receive the Loa with respect, covering the head, offering water, adjusting the clothing, and ensuring that the spirit can speak clearly and safely. The protocols protect both the human and the divine. When the tradition crossed into Louisiana, it adapted again. New Orleans voodoo carries the memory of West Africa and Haiti, but it also carries the imprint of Congo Square, Catholic syncretism, the Black spiritual churches, indigenous influence, and the unique cultural alchemy of the city. Here, possession became more intimate, more domestic, more woven into everyday life. The spirits, whether understood as Loa, ancestors, or powerful dead, often arrived not in large public ceremonies, but in smaller gatherings, in homes, in community circles, and in the quiet spaces where people sought healing and guidance. New Orleans voodoo developed its own rhythms, its own songs, its own ways of calling and cooling. The protocols remained, but they shifted to fit the landscape. The spirits adapted to the swamps, the river, the crossroads, and the Creole languages of the city. And because New Orleans was a place of cultural blending, possession sometimes carried the flavor of hoodoo, root work, Catholic devotion, and African diasporic spiritism. Yet at its core, the purpose remained the same: communion, healing, protection, and the restoration of balance. Across all three traditions, one truth remains constant: spirit possession is not entertainment, it is not something to provoke, imitate, or force. It is a sacred trust. There are protocols because the spirits deserve respect and the human body deserves protection. There are elders because wisdom must guide the process. There are songs and rhythms because the divine responds to order, not chaos. And in the diaspora, possession also became a form of cultural survival. It preserved languages, ethics, and cosmologies that colonial powers tried to erase. It allowed the ancestors to speak across generations. It kept the people connected to a homeland they could no longer touch, but could still feel in their bones. So, as we begin to unmute our beloved co hosts, today, whether in Benin, Haiti, or New Orleans, Possession continues to survive its ancient purposes. It heals the sick. It settles disputes. It strengthens communities. It reminds us that the world is more than flesh and bone. It reminds us that the divine is not distant. It is participatory. It is a relational. It is a willing to enter the circle when called with respect. And so when we speak of possession, we speak of community and continuity. We speak of lineage that refuse to be broken. We speak of spiritual technology older than empire, older than colonization, older than the church, older than the ships that crossed the Atlantic. We speak of a covenant that lives in the drum, in the songs, in the breath, and in the body. Possession is not the spirit taking over, it is spirit coming home. And as we unmute our beloved co host and invite your questions, comments, and requests in the chat, we want to know your experiences with possession. Unlike the Holy Ghost in church, I don't think there's much difference, is it, huh, Sister Toni?
I didn't hear you. You broke up.
I said, unlike catching the spirit in the church, I don't think it's much difference. What do you say?
Oh, you read my mind because that was what was about to come out of my mouth. I grew up in a two religious household, and my mama was Baptist, and she was an usher in church. And I was a little girl under 10 years old, and I never saw a man do it, what my mama called the spirit got her. I've only seen women, but it terrified me as a child because I saw older, frail members of the church, and I knew they could barely walk and stuff, stand up and move and become super strong. I never heard anyone speak in tongues or anything. So me being a curious child, my whole thing on church was, after the first time, was to sit there and see when exactly was the spirit going to get somebody. And the one thing I came to notice is when the preacher was preaching, how they preach real fast and get the crowd all worked up, the church worked up. And my mama church, the choir would be humming behind them that low moan, and he preaching, and the next thing you know, you hear a scream. And the only words that I ever heard any of them speak was yes, yes, yes. And that just totally, that was my introduction to, because my mama told me that was going on, that they had got the spirits. It was just something to see. Us children was totally at all. Our mouths were wide open. Our eyes were wide open. It was something to witness.
And children often knew when it was real and when it was fake, too.
I presume everything. And it wasn't a lot of people doing it. Very rarely you would get two people to jump up and yell and start, saying yes, yes, and sweating profusely. It always was just like one person. And, it just was like, oh my God, the spirit possessing them, the spirit possessing them. And one time my mama being the usher, she had got the spirit, and it had me crying. I was terrified. The ushers had to come calm me down just from crying because of what my mama was going through. So it's something to see. And else, that is just a small part of what spirit possession looks like in Benin or Haiti, when everything is prepared and they want it to happen. That's something to see. I would love to see that. Now
Yes,
that I'm
indeed.
older, now that I'm older. And
What say
that was
you,
my
Elder Reggie?
first take on spirit possession. What say you, Elder Reggie?
Blessed Sister Toni, Divine Prince, excellent topic. Sister Bianca, you come up with it. I'll try to give some answers from my little background on it. And welcome to the collective audience in the chat and all the other platforms. With me coming up in the New Orleans Spiritual Church, I would get possessed in church. Different, even as a young child, different energies would land on me, and I knew what that feelings were like. And so when I started traveling abroad and I got possessed, it's energy I work with that's out of Burkina Faso, West Africa, and there's an energy out of Ghana that I work with. Whenever I invoke them, and normally there's words said, but the three pillars, and I will reiterate, is song with drumming, dance, as we saw Mother Catherine Dunham as Divine Prince opened the show, and then the trance or the possession comes. Those three pillars right there seem to put what I call the ATRs, the Black Spiritual Church, the whole Black experience in America in a nutshell together. Trance, different locale. Now, once a person is in possession, we have to monitor those people. People black out, they go all the way out, they could fall, they could hit their head, they could hurt themselves. But Divine Prince was right again. You try to cool them down. If you can always keep a wet towel or even some cold water close by to help revise them. Because once they get the coolness of something, the spirit seems to retract back. That's from all the years of me seeing possession take place. Sister Bianca, you have any more questions?
Yes, hi. How is everyone doing out there this evening?
All the best.
Yes, so this is an interesting topic, and like you said, I like that you guys have put
Mm-hmm.
a positive spin into the spirit possession in the voodoo ceremonies, because we do have a lot of misconception when they're trying to compare the spirit possession in voodoo ceremony with exorcism, and also comparing it with the Holy Ghost in the Baptist church. And like you said, the Holy Ghost and the spirit possession in voodoo are they do have some of the similarities, which is like covering the body. Sometime in churches, when someone do catch the Holy Ghost, they bring out a fabric or something to cover that person. Like you said, to bring down coolness and calmness. And that's just the same as in the voodoo ceremonies too. Or any different ceremonies that you go to. When someone had that, I noticed that we bring out like a white cloth or something to kind of, I guess the white cloth symbolize purity. So it kind of like bringing calmness to the body and to the spirit that's in the body. Um, Also, when you're talking about making sure that we are being supportive to the people who are going through these things, I had the question as far as like audience and stuff. So as we approaching to our National Voodoo Day in May, when people do come to these events, they will see a lot of these things. Like these things will be happening at these events. So you do get where people are nervous. People are like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's happening? Like it's kind of hard to explain why the ceremony is going on. Some people may understand, some people may not. Some people look at it like, oh, they're crazy, they're losing their mind. Oh, it's just an act. But when we have members that goes into those possessions, we all come together to support, to do everything to make sure that everything is,
Mm-hmm.
like we say, the protocols. But when we do have people in the audience, because it's not even just us, it can be any random person in the audience that catches the possession. How do we go about that? Like is it members that we all go over there and support them, make sure that they okay, or do other people in the audience can go over there and make sure they okay or help, or like Do they touch them? Don't touch them, because there are rules when they say, you're not supposed to touch the body when they're in that the situation or that form, or yes, you can touch the body, or different things that members but also audience could support. So what are your intake on that?
Well, thank you for that, Sister Bianca. And yes, indeed, there are distinct differences that separate spirit possession and ATR, African traditional religious systems, from, sort of catching the Holy Ghost, the Spirit, in church. Now, I believe, and certainly Elder Reggie may speak to it, um, there are less protocols around it in the Black Spiritualist Church, as opposed to how we often see it demonstrated in the church, even today. Where the ushers will, start fanning them, will hold hands and form a circle around them. There's almost an attempt to limit spirit interaction, and particularly only to one spirit in the sanctified and in the holiness churches, as opposed to in Haiti, as well as in West Africa. There are an array of ancestors, spirit deities, and beings that can come through. So it is a bit more structured and a bit more organized. For example, in Haiti, you have the Rata spirits, which are said to be sort of cool and uh, traditional root spirits, and then you have Petro, which are said to be hot or more aggressive or much more revolutionary inspired, for lack of a better wording. So those deities have to be handled uniquely and specifically, and there are certainly signs that we can tell when someone is coming under authentic uh, possession, and then what deity or spirit Loa might be seeking to come through. So you might see others in the ceremony, practitioners in the ceremony, grab certain mouchoirs or certain colored fabrics to tie on to certain areas of the body, depending on what spirit forces are coming through. Certain deities, um, and certainly ancestors, appreciate food, liqueurs, produce, flowers, and other unique smells, fragrances, and flavors that help to induce that spirit, but also help to placate and sort of satisfy the presence of that deity. Even in the church, according to their magical book, there should always be an interpreter when tongues is happening. But we don't often see that a lot, particularly in some of these more modern churches and more, I would say, charismatic churches. So these spaces invite spirits, period. My grandmama used to say, you want to find the devil, look for him to be sitting on the front pew on Sunday morning. So these spaces invite spirit. And so when there is no protocols in place, when there is no active, educated community of practitioners who understand what's happening and know how to address what's happening, yeah, it can certainly look like chaos. And I've been in some ceremonies over the years where people and spirits have come in to upset or bring disruption to a ceremony. So there are experienced practitioners certainly who know how to address spirit, who know how to respond spirit. And usually those are the ones who sort of move into position when this is taking place. Um, we have public ceremonies, certainly on the Bayou, St. John's Eve, maybe even All Saints, All Souls Day, Day of the Dead, Fet Gede. And certainly visitors will come through, and some will be motivated truly by spirit, and we will recognize that and we will respond, accordingly. And then there are other times when, wandering spirits, would come into the event, uh, taking off clothes or acting overtly sexualized when we're not calling for that. When Gede is not, on the floor. So someone usually will, kind of respond and kind of quiet and, as Reggie said, cool that person down. But every uh, demonstration of tongues, every demonstration of possession, in my opinion, should be looked at with a critical eye and should be appropriately interpreted.
To me, in my mama church, it was like the ushers would kind of know who to go closest to, who was about to go off. And this made me watch, because I really wasn't interested in what the preacher was saying, no. And to me, it looked like the person that was start swaying in their seat, and their hands will start moving, like open and close, or they start gripping their hands together, and they start humming like what the choir was humming behind the preacher. And I would see our ushers had sign language. I guess everybody else usher did too. And I would see them slowly start moving toward the area of the church, and I would look over there to see, okay, who they trying to get close to. But I asked my mama about, the ushers, the usher board, and she told me everybody can't be a usher. And I was asked her, like, why everybody can't be a usher? And she said, because ushers have to know certain things. So I don't know if they had an usher class or whatever, but she cut me off from asking that question. But that's one of the vividest memories I have of going to church, was people catching the spirit.
Elder Reggie, you breaking up?
Yeah. He gone out now.
It's in praise hour, right? When the organ.
Yeah, we can't hear
Toni,
you, Elder Reggie. Just barely. We can't hear you at all now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's my computer. Okay. I was trying to relay a question. When do the possessions start in the regular church? Do praise hour?
Well, I don't know what hour they would call it or whatever. In Stronghold Baptist Church, the preacher would always go off into his sermon and look like he would kind of get possessed by the Holy Spirit, because he would start talking and wiping his face and the slamming of the hands, and the choir stand up and they go to humming softly behind him. And he would do that for a good little while, and then it would be during that kind of time when somebody would usually go off. Now, I've seen somebody go off when they were singing a hymn before, one of those call and respond hymns. But it looked like to me, I don't know if that was the praise hour, but it was the main sermon where the preacher really got fired up.
Well, I know in the sanctified churches, apostolic, Pentecostal, along that avenue, things are done, quote unquote, decently and in order, or supposed to be. Now, often there is a sort of pre-service praise service, more like testimony. People will, give up and give their testimony about how good the Lord's been, or who got healed, or who got a surprise check in the mail, or something like that. And there might be a demonstration in that moment, more personal, more individualized, I would say shouting or catching spirit. But during the body of the service, particularly around the sermon, as Sister Toni suggested, and thereafter, there might be a much larger general demonstration of that. But those demonstrations at that point are supposed to be to feed the community, to feed the church. But again, we often don't see an interpreter. We certainly have interpreters in Haitian Vodou. There's always an interpreter. Usually when the deity comes through, there's there's someone of an advanced experience in the practice who assists, who can interpret, who can decipher often what's being said. I'm often in the position to interpret what's said when Mambo Sally Ann is possessed by Ogu or Legba or Aizan. But certainly other people in the community can possess the gift of interpretation and understanding, and through experience will often be put in the position to assist in that matter. You also kept mentioning the ushers board. Don't forget the nursing board now.
I don't remember. Remember, I was a child. I don't remember all of that, and I think I remember my the usher board so much is because my mother was one in all white with the white cap and the white gloves and the white clothes and the fan.
Well, they had a nursing board who typically wore all white as well. And they were called the nurses or the nursing board, but it was primarily to catch people fainting, falling out, to catch these folks that might be demonstrating a wayward spirit, and then of course the ushers would then come in and sort of bind the energy, if you will.
Yeah, I noticed they would all stand around a person and they start humming too and flying the flag, and out come the little bottle that they put under their nose, and then you really couldn't see much once the usher surrounded the person. Because I'm gonna tell you, when a person started getting possessed, everybody on that pew would move out the way. They would move. They would exit on both sides. They would get out the way so that the ushers or maybe the nurses was in there too could get on that pew to that person. And I know I never saw nothing like that in the Catholic Church.
Well, baby, the spirits are wandering. The spirits are in the streets. It is indeed carnival time. Okay. Fat Tuesday is coming. February 17th will be Fat Tuesday. And, it's some of these parades that I've never gone to during Carnival because of, the likelihood of there being spirits there. Bacchus, which is what the spirit of drunkenness. It's always some shenanigans surrounding Bacchus.
And somebody and blood is always shit. I used to go to the parades. I used to love Mardi Gras until I started coming into what people call consciousness. I noticed at all the parades, because at one time I kept a record actually, because I had nothing else to do at work. With the newspaper there at the desk. All of the parades that bore the name of a Greek or Roman god, there was always somebody got bloody. And to me, that was the blood sacrifice. Somebody got shot, stabbed, run over, or something. I don't do Mardi Gras no more because, as I said, I learned different. But you're right. The energy and stuff that's out there on the streets right now, it's a time, if you go out there, cover your head, wrap it up, put on your holy water, whatever you need to do, put your armor on if you going out there. Because they are out there.
Yes, indeed. And we certainly appreciate your continued support, participation, sponsorship, donations of this powerful Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time podcast as an extension and a mouthpiece for New Orleans International Voodoo Day. Saturday, May 23rd, Sunday, May 24th of this year will be our annual New Orleans International Voodoo Day. And thank you to our Facebook page, profile, and group listeners and participants. Again, we certainly appreciate our international listenership audience through LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X, and we're always grateful and appreciative of those who join us by way of Instagram. Greetings, T. Pretty, Sonia Art, Tarlette 38. Greetings and salutations to you and yours. Lauren Valrain, I hope I said that right. Miss Tequila, Shanae, thank you for joining us. Mardi Gras Engine Illuminati, greetings and salutations to you and yours. Naomi 88, a fucking nobody joined us. Tarlet 38, thank you so much for joining us. Gnome Notorious 144, we certainly appreciate you. Esabar Yassine, we certainly appreciate you. Trophy Trucking joined us. We certainly appreciate you. April 6111, thank you for coming in. Cassandra McCarthy 69, greetings to you and yours. Bella Rainlash, we appreciate your visit. I Pink joined us. Indeed, respect the voodoo. No matter what you do, respect the voodoo. Cindy LaFleur, greetings to you and yours. EPCO 34 or EPCO, EPKO 34, we certainly appreciate you. Ms. Cybene, greetings and salutations. Sunny's World joined us. And again, we invite your continued support and participation. 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday on a social media platform near you or by way of the QR code in the top right corner of your screen. I now turn the mic over to Elder Reggie, Green Soap, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, for our announcement and to close us out.
We have a large selection and variety of Santa Muerte statuaries available at the Island of Salvation, Botanica, 2372 St. Claude Avenue, Suite 100. We always mention in NOIVD podcast, yay. And the application ceremony will occur on the new moon, Sunday, March 18, in the zodiac of Pisces at 6:30 p.m. Location 710 Cluid Street. What we do is a ritual spiritual warfare gathering and ritual. Please come out and support us. Lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. With that I say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Good night, everyone. We love you all, and we'll be back tomorrow with more information.
Good night and Odabo.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
And you may well have had an ancestor who fought in that battle. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, this is a wild painting.
Yeah, it's totally wild.
There's like guys on horseback. There's a dude getting beheaded, but it's very beautiful.
It is.
The painting is very beautiful.
But what's it like to think of that possibility and to be introduced to the complexity of your genetic makeup?
I mean, it's surreal. This is one of the most epic stories of, you know, the greater Indian subcontinent and its history.
Yeah.
When you go to Delhi, you can still see those old Mughal forts.
Yeah.
And so to know that we have a connection to that is pretty epic.
Does it change the way you see your father?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, yeah, there's a level of depth to this that I did not anticipate.
Please, allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this right in my DNA, yet I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your shit. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Oh, do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, Assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise." Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.